Hey, what's up everybody? It's Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome to another Monster Energy Supercross official track gameplay, round number 15 of the Monster Energy Supercross series from Foxborough. And today I am joined by a special guest, a special friend, the one and only Motoagogo joining me. What's up, Moto? How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Moto is going to be joining us to talk a little bit about this track, a little bit about some patch notes about this game that came out earlier today, and of course recapping Minneapolis Supercross as we always do in these videos. So we're going to have a little bit of fun. For those of you that don't know who Motoagogo is, I will be sure to link his Twitch channel in the description below. He does a lot of cool stuff. Obviously, he does a lot of motocross stuff, which is why he's a part of our videos, but he also does a lot of variety of games as well that he streams on Twitch, and I would definitely recommend checking him out. How are things going with the whole Twitch saga as it is, Moto?
It's actually going really well. We've hit a huge growth of right about 400 followers in the last 2 months, thanks to the newer motocross games, streaming a lot of that, and been actually really supportive communities too. Like, we gave away a couple of copies of Monster Energy Supercross. We gave away 3 copies of All Out, and just it's been amazing the support that we get from this smaller community that is a very niche market. You know what I mean? We're in such a small thing. It's I don't know. It's been great. Getting ready for St. Jude charity streaming coming up, and just and not only that, God of War is around the corner. As weird as it is, not anti-motocross anything, but yeah, can't wait to start streaming the entire game of God of War. That's my upcoming plan, so it's gonna be good.
Sorry, I just zoned out for a second because I was trying to get the freaking menu music to stop playing again, but I heard most of what you said, and all that sounds really cool and exciting. Like, I'm really happy for you and your growth, and like I said, definitely you guys should check him out. He does a lot of cool stuff with all those streams, and I think you also briefly mentioned the St. Jude thing as well coming up, and that's going to be...
Yeah, all of May, starting April 27th all the way through the last day of May is a little event we do every year called the St. Jude Play Live series, where all donations, all bits, all everything, including this MX Simulator series we have coming up, everything goes to St. Jude charity, and it's a really cool event that I'm happy to be a part of every year. So.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool event. I've been really glad to be a part of that as well, and yeah, I'll try to link some info about that in the description as well for anybody watching that can follow along with that, donate as well, and help out the cause, and also help out Motoagogo to get more people aware of the St. Jude's event and that whole month and everything like that. But yeah, let's dive into this a little bit. Let's talk about the patch notes first, which Monster Energy Supercross, the game, released a patch earlier today.
A big patch, too.
Yeah,
it was surprising the size. Yeah,
it was huge.
Not
I saw it
download-wise, but patch note-wise.
Yeah, I saw it roll through my Twitter feed, and I was like, "Oh, here we are, new patch." And then there was like 4 extra tweets onto it saying like they've updated this, they've updated this. Just to hit on a couple of the main highlights that I saw. Was a lot of new options for searching and liking online tracks, which I knew was a big kind of talking point for people because, I mean, let's be honest, Moto, the way that you search for tracks in this game before was a nightmare.
Or the fact we had to put our own name in our title so people knew who made what track.
Yeah,
that was always it just either way with that. It's just, but so many things, at least they're changing it now. We can at least search. We're not just going through the most downloaded, most liked, newest tracks. We can at least search it by name, which is great.
Right. So that's probably the biggest addition, and what would relate to this video the most is the search option availability now, because, if you want to play this track, it's called SYS_Foxborough SX18 on the PC, so you can actually search for that now, which before you couldn't do. You'd have to dig through, I think it's up to like 350 some odd pages of tracks on the PC, like or that, yeah. Even more on the consoles. It was ridiculous. So they at least added the search option, and then they also added like a couple liking, or you can favorite tracks now or something I saw.
Up to 100 now. Up to 100. It used to be
that.
Only like 10, but you could do now 100 tracks on favorite.
So they added those options, makes it a little bit easier to not only save the tracks that you liked, but also find the ones that you might want to play. And so that was the update to all the track stuff. Now they also did a couple things with just general gameplay. I know Moto, we had talked a little bit earlier that for some reason you can't skip intro videos now.
My only gripe, and I hate to ever be this person, because I mean, kudos to Milestone. They did fantastic with this newest patch, and I think it's going to help out a lot. But just why would you patch in the factor that you can no longer watch or no longer skip intro videos?
Yeah, I don't.
That's just. I mean, I get it for sponsors, but come on, guys. Like that's. I don't want to sit back and just be like Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game, every time. Every time it's gonna come. And either way, it's their choice. And,
yeah, like when I read
I'll take
that
it with the other patches, that's fine.
When I read that, I was like, okay, did they have to add that option to like save disk space or something? Like, why would you? Because you're right. Like, why would they patch that into the game?
It's sponsorship and ads. It's all I can think.
Yeah.
Literally, that's the only thing I can think of.
Whatever, backwards thinking, in my opinion. Anyway,
but at the same time, if it gave us all the other updates, and cool, we could suffer through some intro videos. You know,
true, but I guess
it's one of those like, that's why I put you on an SSD. I want to skip as much as I can.
If they're gonna patch something, you would think that it's all positive news and not negative news. Like,
exactly.
Hey, MX's ATV Live or All Out people, guess what? We added more lag to the game. No, that's backwards thinking.
The fatal error now shows up 5 times as much. Congrats, guys. Have a good day.
But no, so they also added the option to change they call it livery because of Europe and all, but bike graphics in career mode, which was, you used to be stuck on sponsored graphics. You can now change that.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
They did a couple other things with just general career mode play. They also did a lot of multiplayer fixes. I saw they fixed and I can tell just by playing this with you that they fixed tough block respawn times.
Yes, so much better.
A little bit faster, so they're not in the way as much. And then also it seems like some of the netcode issues that were, clipping people through each other and through tough blocks a lot have been resolved. Doesn't seem like, you could speak for me, but it doesn't seem like you are flying around the track and making tough blocks go everywhere.
Actually, yeah, here, also, slow up for a second. Let me try to clean you. Let's see how contact works now. Or you clean me either way. I'm just saying, how bouncy online was and how bad collisions were. Let's play around with this for a second. Hold on.
All right.
Does it seem bad already?
No.
Here, let's go ahead. Yeah, come into the corner. Go ahead and clean me. Here you go. Bink! No, that's so much better.
Well, on my screen, I didn't even touch you, so.
Oh my god, on my screen, you parked me in the corner.
I guess it didn't send you to the moon, so that's a plus.
But no, the contact was very subtle. It was almost like a push instead of a jarring hit.
Yeah. So they fixed a couple things with multiplayer. I think they also fixed a couple menu options with multiplayer too, a couple things about changing features, but I didn't write that all down. So, like I said, there will be, or you can go and look at the patch notes yourself. I'll probably include the link to their press release that discusses all the patch notes, so you can check it out. But that's cool because I think a lot of people were asking for updates to this game, and clearly it wasn't the fastest response time, but they got around to it, and they got around with a lot of stuff updated with the game.
Yeah, there's been a couple of great series with the game too. I know the Dead Meat guys, all the way back from Reflex days. Yes, those Dead Meat guys. We have been doing a series that they've been running a lot of the tracks, and we had to cut out a lot of the collisions because of the netcode issues. But this could honestly bring back block passes, and that's fantastic. I'm really excited about that.
So that's cool. New patch and all of that business, but obviously we're playing this track and doing this video today to kind of slightly preview the Foxborough Supercross this weekend, but really to
see there, I nailed you there. What, did I hit you or no?
No, you did hit me, but I didn't go flying.
Exactly, yeah. That's still in the game, though.
To review Minneapolis and preview slightly Boston. So this is going to be the track, the Foxborough track in Gillette Stadium this weekend, which is going to be a day race, so I guess it kind of works it for qualifying right now. We're doing it in the day. But then, all these storms with what's it called, Tropical Storm or Hurricane Xanto going through the north right now, it might still be a problem this weekend going into Foxborough, and we might have a lot of rain, so that could definitely change the track up. But talking about the track, Moto, what do you think of this layout for round 15 here?
It seems like a good. I don't know. With the space you have to work with, it seems like a good layout to me. Seems like multiple little areas, a little technical, especially with the table on off section. The first rhythm is, I don't know, we'll have to see how it actually is in real life because, most of the time they change a little something here or there on the intro, but I like how you have inside-outside options for the first rhythm, which will be really cool to watch. And I don't know, it's the tight 180 first turn. That's going to be interesting to see, how that goes. Because usually it's a 90 a lot of times. So this is a full 180 going in, and 180s cause problems half the time. So we'll see how that goes Saturday night.
Yeah, it is. It's a pretty unique track. The track itself kind of reminds me of, I think it was Detroit last year. Had a very similar look to it.
Yeah,
obviously it went into the
Detroit,
stands, straight on from the start. But other than that, the rest of the track is pretty similar. I feel like layout-wise, the jumps are in some different spots, obviously, but the actual ground layout of the track looks pretty similar to Detroit from last year. So I guess maybe that's a little bit of Feld recycling some old track designs and using some different options, but it still is a pretty cool layout, and I think that lots of 180s, lots of block passing opportunities. Hopefully it doesn't rain or ruin the track too much so that we can actually see some good racing on it, but I don't know. I like it too.
Yeah, it looks like a fun, tight little track, and especially the little whoop section just for the end. The little touch that you need of a certain whoop section, of course, but just right before the end makes people all out if it's a battle for the end, and that's always a great spot to throw whoops in, and you don't see it too often. It's Kennard me. Fantastic.
Section.
That's great.
Oh man. So yeah, this is a look at Foxborough 2018, and what we are going to do now is, I don't know if you're ready to jump into the race yet or not, Moto, but it's going to be 20 minutes, so we should probably at some point do that.
Yeah.
I don't know how we skip qualifying, though. I'm trying to figure that out. It just allows me to go back into the race, but all it gives me are options to resume or exit to main menu. Maybe we have to go all the way through qualifying. I
guess so. That's what it's looking like, sadly.
Whatever. Finish off qualifying. So I guess it'll give us more time to talk about it. Minneapolis Recap. Let's dive into it a little bit. Triple Crown race again. So obviously some spectacular things going on with that whole event itself. But before I even get into Minneapolis discussion at all, I talked about it in a video last week, but I also would love to hear your thoughts on this Motoagogo with the whole Brock Tickle suspension thing.
Oh, man.
Getting suspended for...
the elephant in the room.
Yeah, methylhexane 5 amino 2, which is, I think it's...
AKA nasal spray.
It's quadramethylhexane diamino or something like that?
diamino, yeah.
So... yeah, it kind of sucks because there's really no way out for Tickle here. I mean, every time we've seen someone get caught with something in Supercross before, a la James Stewart or Cade Clayson recently, it hasn't ended well. I mean, I guess the first question I want to ask you, Moto, is like, do you think Tickle was doing it on purpose?
I hate to start this off with a joke that somebody said on Twitter, and I can't remember who it was, but he said it perfectly. He said, in times like this, it just proves that sometimes quote-unquote doping and racing doesn't guarantee somebody a win. It's one of those things that, like, he didn't use it as a performance enhancer. In my opinion, I don't see it as. Like, I think he just did it as he was getting, I think he said he was getting over a cold at the flu, and he had used something, or there was, like, I'm saying talk of it, of course. That if that's the situation or why he used it, then it's like, I don't know. Like, we've all needed something to get over a cold or a flu. I get it that racing's a bit more strict and you can't take as much, but it just seems so severe for what it is. But at the same time, it's either all okay or it's not okay. So
right.
But at the same time, is the rumor true that I've heard that he's suspended for 4 years? Is that right?
Well, so there's a little bit of like fluctuation, I feel like, within the rule book, because under the rule book of like caught athletes, players, or whatever, it does say a 4-year suspension is a possibility. Okay. But I think people are getting it mixed up just a touch because like Clayson, who got caught last year, only got a 2-year suspension as well. But I think a lot of people are they saw Matt Moss in the offseason get suspended for 4 years. But that was his second offense. That was the second time he was caught with a banned substance. So I think the penalty was more severe because of that. I don't think Tickle will get 4 years. I think he'll get 2, if anything. But even so, that's still like a career killer for him.
Oh yeah, especially. I mean, he's already getting up in age, and not in a bad way. Just, it's motocross is one of those sports that you're either young and quick, or you start, as weird as it is, 35, you're an old man and done. Like,
right.
It's that type of sport. So Tickle's getting more up there, and just that 2 years even. That's a lot out of your career in, motocross. That's a hard hit. I mean, and not only that, but do sponsors still have your back by the time you come back and everything?
Right.
There's just so much behind it, and I see it as well. It's sadly, I see that as the stake in the heart of his career, sad as it is.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there, because I mean, we've seen before with like James Stewart, it seemed to kind of derail his career. I wouldn't say it was the end of his career, but we haven't really seen the ending bits of Clayson and whether he'll come back or not. He's still pretty young, but Tickle is going to be 29 by the time he serves the end of his 2-year suspension, so not the oldest on track necessarily. I know Brayton, Reed, all those guys are still doing pretty well into their 30s, but I don't know if that's really, we could claim that Tickle's necessarily the same level. He does have a lights championship or 250 class championship, but I feel like Reed was obviously one of the best riders of his era, and then Brayton he kind of got a late start anyway. Like, I feel like Brayton wasn't really like a big name until like 2009, 2010.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he really molded into his own later. He was a late bloomer, for sure.
Right, and so I think he hasn't hit his like 10 years of use yet. Like, he still has maybe a good couple years left in him. Whereas Tickle, he's kind of been at the forefront, I would say, of the sport for most of his career, which started back in 2009, I believe, and obviously he won his lights title in 2011 and moved up the next year, and he's been on a 450 since then, but he's never really been like the elite 450 guy, I would say. Like, he got the Red Bull KTM spot, I think, in an attempt to get him there, but it hasn't worked out. And even if he was doing the drugs on purpose, it obviously didn't work out in his favor at all. So like I said with you, I think it's really kind of the end of his career, because there's not much he can do to come back from this.
Yeah, like he's put all his cards on the table, put all his chips where they lie, and sad as it is, if this is the way it goes out, then that's honestly, in my opinion, a travesty in motocross. As crappy as that is, it's kind of like I said, it's either all okay or it's not okay, but it's just like, to go out on said nasal spray is like the word right now. Like, that's just, it's just the dumbest way out. But I mean, I feel for the guy, I really do.
Yeah.
And
man.
I mean, there's a lot of other situations. If somebody's doping, somebody's like heroin, something, you know what I mean? Like, something bad, you're like, oh, well, yeah, that guy, screw that, but but you're like, oh yeah, he got banned for nasal spray. You're like,
and hey,
really?
I mean, I want to say something too here, because I feel like I can speak personally about this a little bit. Like, what he did, the drug that he was taking, like, yes, it could help him out, but I feel like people don't really understand how much some things that people are doing at the track could maybe hurt themselves or other people. Like, there's plenty of athletes that are still, or used to be in this case, like, kind of hung over from a night before and go out to a track and race a Supercross.
Yeah,
like, I've heard plenty of stories about that. And then myself, when I used to work at Vermoto, I ended up in a motorhome once at Anaheim one year, and there was an unnamed, a rider that will go unnamed in this discussion, that he was smoking pot between practices. So, like, there's some real sketchy things going on in Supercross, and a guy getting caught with, like you said, a nasal spray, or it might have been pre-workout, or who knows exactly what it was, but I feel like it's less of a problem than some of the other problems that they have going on with the sport itself. So it kind of sucks that someone gets caught for that and it's game over. But other things that might be a little bit more dangerous. And I'm not saying someone smoking pot really is the worst thing out there, but I'm just giving it as an example. But at the same time,
being on the track with other people on sober, sound, and mind versus somebody that might not be 100% on his game, there's a difference there completely.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean? Like, you're endangering other people's time. So.
Yeah, and I know I've heard a lot of people that say they will, smoke pot and then go ride at a local track, and like I guess that's kind of okay because you're usually able to ride by yourself and not be in the way, but I feel like racing's a different story. So anyway, I'm not going to get into a whole pot okay on a track or not discussion.
Oh, for sure. I'm waiting for the comments on this. I'll pull up some popcorn later on this one.
Yeah,
for sure.
But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because I feel like it kind of hits on a point of like, hey, there's people still doing drugs in the sport, like on purpose.
Yeah,
but
or worse than what we just talked about. You know what I mean? Like,
so
much worse. So.
Anyway, that Brock Tickle situation it's a whole different ballgame. We're going to be talking about it for a long time, I'm sure. So let's talk about some more, I would say, like nice things, fun things. You know what? I have to start bad again. Let's get all the bad stuff out of the way. But talking about Minneapolis, Cooper Webb broke his tibia at Minneapolis. I don't know if you knew that, Moto.
Yep.
But
yeah, I actually had heard. It's funny as it is from the wife last night. She was randomly just like, "Oh, just read on Instagram that Webb broke his tibia." I was like, "Damn, like you can't catch a break, you know?"
Seriously, that is the cold hard facts about Cooper Webb, man. Guy cannot catch a break. It seems like every time he starts going fast again, he'll. And in this case, from what I've read about it, it really wasn't his fault. He got kind of crossed up in the first section and fell, and then got landed on. And It's like, I mean, what are you going to do about that? That's just normal, like weird first lap kind of scrum things. And unfortunately, broken tibia is going to be out for at least a month or two of outdoors too. Ugh, sucks for Cooper.
Yeah, I mean, I always say that too. Like, this is the worst time of the year always. Of course, any time of the year is terrible to be injured, but right before motocross, before the reset, that's the worst time you can have something happen.
Right, no doubt about it. And it kind of leaves an open door for Webb a little bit too, because he's going to be at the end of his contract this year, and I mean, like,
that's right.
Where do we stand on Cooper Webb, Motoagogo? Is Cooper Webb an elite rider at the moment? Like, do we put him in the upper group, or is he like Brock Tickle?
Cooper Webb is the Barsha from 250s to 450s.
Well, okay, but again, Barsha, he moved up to 450s and won right away. He won in his second 450 start.
And that's the whole thing I'm saying. That Webb was quick. I mean, don't forget, he had a couple of podium, really good rides at the very beginning, and then just as the season goes on, it just seems that he's just deteriorating, sadly, from in just bad ways. There's no luck, you know what I mean? Just not on his own accord, I don't know, it just seems like he just keeps dropping further and further off the spectrum. And then that was kind of like Barsha. And then remember, a year or two later, recently especially, he's bounced back up to actually being somebody in the 450 class that is somebody to be feared. But as of right now, I don't see Webb as anybody to worry about in the championship at all.
Yeah, and it's so weird too, because when he had initially moved up to ride a 450 for, he raced Motocross of Nations a couple times on it, and then he also raced a couple GPs on a 450. He was really good and looked really comfortable on a 450.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And he just I don't feel like he looks like that same Cooper Webb we saw 3 years ago on a 450 that we see now. It's so strange because I don't really know what went wrong, and then obviously now he's had another season with another injury and he's about to be a free agent, but I guess I don't really know where he would go. What team would want to pick him up? Does he stay at Yamaha? But would they pay him a lot? Because if he panned out to be the Cooper Webb that people had thought, I'd imagine at this point in his career he would be expecting a big payday, but it's obviously not been the case. So what do they do? What teams pick him up? How much they pay him? It's kind of a weird situation with Webb, I feel.
Exactly. How big of a contract are you now? When he first came into 450s, he was probably a pretty penny, and now you haven't shown your worth yet, and it's sad.
Right.
It's I don't know. It's like I still say, he's the Barsha. Barsha bounced back. Barsha
Right.
was one of those guys we all gave. I mean, don't forget, we all missed the days of him redlining on a 250 and being the guy out there that everybody wanted to win. But when he went to 450s, all I could say was the best term, he got humbled big time in 450s. And had to bring it all back. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, he was great from the start. Yeah, he had definitely, especially motocross, he did well, but just, he wasn't the 250 Barsha anymore. He's now a grunt and had to get through the ranks, and he's definitely showing his skill and mobility. And I see Webb the same way. I see him eventually is going to get his time of day and is going to really show that he is a quote-unquote superstar in the 450 class.
Well, I hope for his sake that you're right, because I do like Webb too, and I think that he has the potential to be a perennial front runner. But continuing on from Webb, continuing on with the sort of bad breaks of the weekend, Austin Forkner, I know you and I talked about it before the start of this video, but broken collarbone after that crash in the third main
What was that, his sixth crash of the night? Like, what was Forkner doing?
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about this too. That second main event, that had to be like... He just
Can we get some Benny Hill music going in the background with his race?
He kind of just like imploded, right? Like that had to be like him. Oh crap! I'm buried. I want to get as high in the, in the standings as I can.
Yeah. No,
and he kind of freaked out and like wanted to make passes that weren't necessarily there, right? Like that's how I saw it, at least.
He seemed flustered. He seemed way too into his head. He was screaming at his helmet, as we like to always say, and just. I don't know. He was riding so over his head, yet also blaming everybody else for his own problems. And that was one thing that I thought was interesting, that he would, I mean, I'm not saying that anybody else is innocent, just his own mistakes he seemed to throw off on anybody else as the night went on. And that did not help him at all.
That's a good point that you bring up, though, because I wanted to ask you, too. The situation that caused him to crash in the first place, like the first lap of the second main event, I saw a couple people mention like, oh, Osborne, pushed him off the track or cross jumped him or whatever, but like, I didn't feel that was the case.
No, I don't see that at all. No, I mean, there was slight movement, but no way at all that he was the cause of that accident in any way.
It seemed like Forkner just kind of misjudged his drive out of the corner. And, just jumped left. So, I wouldn't blame anybody there.
Just charged too hard. That's all it was. Yeah, no purposeful anything in that at all.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Then,
everybody wants to point fingers, you know what I mean? Like, that's all I gotta say. Like, everybody wants to, like, somebody else's fault. I like Forkner too, I really do. Just, he himself threw away his race.
Yeah.
And sadly broken, collarbone from it. But either way, like, it's...
Yeah. Oh, and then you and we also talked about it as well. The guy, the A-Stars medical guy, grabbing his left arm to help him off the track after he just broke his left collarbone. Like, come on, guys, what are we doing here?
It's like I was saying earlier, like, I thought maybe he was nodding, and even my wife said she was like, maybe he's nodding, like, towards, like, I dislocated my shoulder, which is common. Like, I dislocated my shoulder, like, can you pop back in? Yeah. And then you see when he gets in a hold of me, he's like, angrily, like, no, dude, back off. Like
hey,
I'm hurting, like, please.
My shoulder's broken, can you please not grab at it? Thank you.
I'd really appreciate not hurting any more than I already am.
Yeah. Very weird situation there, but yeah, bummer deal for Forkner. Obviously takes him out of the championship hunt because he's going to have to miss the rest of the season. Hopefully he's back by
possibly,
outdoors.
Yeah, I was going to say possibly some of outdoors, Like, it's collarbone is either, it's okay, and then you're back a couple of weeks later, or I had to have full, plates and everything else, and you're out for 2-3 months.
Yeah, I would say that even if it's the second option, that you'd probably still see Forkner at Hangtown, but yeah, he would definitely not be 100%. So
for sure, for sure.
Bummer deal for him. Kind of ruins, I would say, a good chance at him starting outdoors well, but maybe he still has a shot outdoors. I don't know. That's going to be super chaotic. Jumping to the 450 class, though, we can talk about Tomac here in a minute, but Anderson in the second main event got penalized. I'm not sure if you read about that or saw that as well.
Yeah, I didn't get to read the whole article, but I saw that he was. Fill me in really quick. I didn't get to read the whole article.
Yeah, so basically what happened is he was catching Brayton for the lead, like I think it's halfway through or so that second main event. Went for a pass down the inside of that weird, tricky long rhythm before the finish, and then got stood up and went straight on, and I think he came to a stop, but then decided, I'm in the middle of the track, I should keep going, and went off the track. So he actually exited the track while in second place, and then pulled along the side of the track and went down the entire lane on the side of the track until the end, and then re-entered in 6th. So he lost 4 spots from where he exited the track. But what I read was that he was actually penalized not for waiting too long to re-enter the track or for leaving the track in the first place, which I saw a couple people say, like, oh, maybe he should have stopped and got on the track exactly where he was. But the penalty was actually for riding wide open down the side of the track. Which,
oh, yeah, there's like that quote-unquote pit lane rule on the side or whatever, yeah.
So it's kind of weird because I feel like pretty often we see guys do this. Like if you could even go back to Dungey last year at Vegas when Tomac pushed him off the track before the Supercross.
Oh, yeah, and he rode on the side wide open, yeah.
Yeah, like I would think that that's almost the same thing, and then Dungey, he didn't gain a position, but he obviously didn't lose much time from doing that. And in Anderson's case, he lost several positions by going off the track in the first place and then waited for a safe spot to re-enter. So obviously I'd like to know where you stand, but in my opinion, I don't think that that's really penalty worthy. Where do you sit with it?
In my opinion, honestly, if you could stay wide open on the side of a track, especially on plywood or thin dirt or anything like that, dude, more power to you, man. You're actually able to not slide out, which we've seen it before. Think about Roxon years ago when I think it was Monster Energy Cup when he went underneath the banner and got like his leg.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You remember it? Like
yeah.
You got underneath. I mean, it's just one of those things. Of course, it's a different situation while it's crashing, but those things are slippery as hell. Like it's not a simplistic, oh, let me just ride on the side of the track at full speed. You're on either, like I said, cement, plywood, or thin dirt over one of the two. It's not a simplistic thing. So, I mean, I look at it in the way of you're trying to get back on track. You're mid-race. You're everything else. I don't see it being a penalty. That's the dumbest thing. Unless, like I said, with pit lane, as we always make the joke of being a pit lane side thing now, it's you're in more of a secluded area, and you got to be careful because there's people on pit lane working. Where you got a couple of people inside camera guys, I guess, stuff like that. But you're in full race mode. You need to go. So I don't know. I see it as non-penalty.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. The one thing I would say that maybe the AMA took into account here was we saw earlier this year Lane Shaw at Texas go off the side of the track while in second in the LCQ and then pin it and then crash and almost take out a couple workers and photographers.
Oh, so that's right. Yeah,
maybe they thought like, hey, we can't let people keep going off the side of the track and holding it wide open. We really have to have penalties for this. And so that would be the only thing I can think of is that they were like, hey, we're going to get people hurt if we keep letting people do this. I think we need to apply a penalty, even if it's, you know, just one position like Anderson's case, just anything to get these guys to stop doing it. But I mean, that's the only reason I could come up for with why they would think that that's, you know,
I mean,
as
at the
bad
same
as
time,
it
if you
was.
think about it, though, only one position versus maybe losing 3 or 4 if you don't do so, I would still be wide open. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it sounds horrible to say so. It's just, that could be a huge loss. But
That's
if you're only going to penalize me once, sure. Let me just keep going wide open. Why not?
Well, it definitely did cost Anderson the win because without the penalty, he would have finished in 6th in that race, I believe it was that he ended up. And then he would have won the overall by tying Tomac on points but winning the final race. So cost him the win, but I don't know. I mean, he still has a huge points lead. I don't think he can be too bummed with getting out of the 3rd Triple Crown safe and obviously not crashing like you would have said on the plywood, holding it wide open down the side of the track. So.
I mean, like I said, that's so risky. It's crazy.
Yeah, definitely a big risk there. So
OTB.
Weird situation, but like I said, I think we both agree should not have been penalized. Moving on from that, talk about Tomac here for a minute because obviously he did pick up the win, and with that becomes the winningest Supercross rider in history to not have won a Supercross title, which is the daunting title that I think nobody wants to have.
Exactly. It's that good job, but you could have done better.
I mean, I'm of the belief Tomac's going to win a title at some point. It's all going to come together. For sure. But this has just been such a weird 2 years for Tomac. Like, even outdoors, even though he won the title, it still seemed like, wow, he really could have lost that. Like, Marvin was pretty close outdoors. It's
big time, yeah.
It's so strange because, I mean, I don't know about you, but I would say Tomac is the best rider on the track right now. Hands down,
in
last year and a half. So, such a weird dynamic going on with Tomac. I mean, kudos to him picking up 20th career victories, well on his way to smashing more of those wins away, but just can't seem to put it all together. It's going to be another Supercross season where he wins 9 races and doesn't win the title. I mean, that's
I hate to agree with everybody else when they say it, but it's either checker or either first or out or whatever it is with Tomac. Like it seems like he either wins a race or is just something happened that he's just not finishing for some reason. Like it's the weirdest dynamic of any rider I've seen in a long time. Filippo had that a little bit for like a portion of his career, but he seemed to like get over whatever, was on monkey on the shoulder or whatever you want to say, but either way, monkey's back. But it's just, I don't know, it just seems like Tomac there's something holding him back. And I mean, everybody has their mistakes and weird malfunctions, but I mean, who has a career like Tomac? Nobody. Like,
nobody yet, yeah.
It's just the most unlucky person I've ever seen on a racetrack, period. It's crazy.
Well, and honestly, you're right, he is kind of crash or win, but these Triple Crown races, he was coming back from an injury at Anaheim, so let's leave that out. But Atlanta and even this weekend, didn't Tomac look like kind of human most of the night? Yeah. Like the first race he was really good, but then the second race he got caught and passed by Marvin. The third race, the same thing happened while he was in second. Like he just didn't look like he was willing to go Eli Tomac extra beyond the normal level that he knows how to go. And
on top of that, when was the last time we saw him genuinely look really happy after a race?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, he looked really, actually very happy and showed emotion, and that's very anti-Tomac. I know a lot of people in the comments are going to be like, oh, we've seen him be happy before. No, but, like, think about it. He looked genuinely really super happy just to get that win. And I think it's, as you said, being human again. He actually had to fight the elements and get that win. That was cool.
Yeah. I think he just, man, sometimes it's great for Tomac and sometimes it's not good, but I think this race more or less settled down and was like, hey, I can win this thing with a couple thirds here. It's not a big deal. So maybe he's learning. Maybe we're seeing Tomac blossom into a young man again or something. I don't know.
be more like his dad, as much as it's odd to say that. His dad is a well-seasoned, endured, racer,
Right.
He's definitely shown his ranks, and I think the closer he becomes to what his dad is, then the better the racer that Tomac's going to be.
Right. All right, Motoagogo. Is Jeremy Martin good at Supercross?
Oh, God.
Are we finally back? Are we finally on the J Mart is good at Supercross train again?
A lot of people can hate me for saying this. I've never been a fan of either Martin brother, but at the same time, I will always give credit where credit's due of anybody. He's doing well. He's starting to get back possibly to being the guy, but at the same time, I just don't like them.
Jeez, Moto.
No, I'm just more kidding. It's just I've just always made jokes about how they just seem like a very arrogant group of brothers. You know what I mean? Like they're very spoiled in their 250 back in the day, and all that stuff. But they showed where they put their money where their mouth was, and that was a good thing. But it's just one of those that now the more we're seeing him, and he's starting to get back into the swing of things. He's starting to look all right, but just I don't know. We'll see if he can actually keep the train going,
Yeah, I mean, he had an abysmal Supercross last year, and the year before wasn't necessarily great. He had a year where he was like the fastest rider on track, but crashed it all the time. Now it seems like he's kind of figured it out. Like, he didn't start the season well, but then he's had a couple seconds. He's won the last 2 rounds. I don't know. If I'm the rest of the field at this point, Jeremy Martin suddenly kicking ass at Supercross would have me sweating bullets going outdoors, because it seems like if he's figured out Supercross on that bike, he's going to be unreal on a 250 outdoors. So
yeah, exactly. I was going to say, we all knew Martin brothers are much better at outdoors than they are at, Supercross, but I don't know. I'm kind of thinking that too, that if he keeps this going up to outdoors, I would be terrified going against him.
Yeah, but having said that, and how good Martin's looked these past few weeks, I would go as far as saying, and you can chime in whether you agree or not, but I think that this is far and away Osborne's title to lose indoors now.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
With Fortner going out, Smith is 12 points back. Martin's like, I think 15 or 16 back now. So it's still, those three guys have a chance, or those two guys have a chance to get to Osborne, but really it's Osborne's to lose, right?
Yeah, it's the only two things that can happen. Either A, he has injury, of course, anybody can have that happen. That's just always number one. Two, East-West shootout somehow, some way. We've seen it in the past, rarely, but they squeeze somebody out so far that their side points don't matter anymore, and they kind of screwed them on their night. But either way, it's just, yeah, definitely his to lose. Like, I don't see any other, it's just those two things. Other than that, it's his season. He's got it. So.
Yeah, totally agree. I think that he's just gonna. I think he's smart enough at this point to be like, hey man, I could pretty much cruise this race out. Like, what I think he really should do is this weekend in Foxborough is he should again try to win, like maybe ride over his head a little bit to get the win. Yeah. Because if I were him, I would not want a situation like there was last year where he crashed in the first corner at Vegas and it's like, oh crap, I have to get to 10th to still win the title or something like that.
Rush, yeah.
Yeah. Like if he could pick up those few extra more points this weekend and be like, whew, okay, I could afford to finish 15th next weekend and still be okay. I think that would do him a lot of favors, but it still seems like more so than his title last year. He's just got this thing well under control. Oh, wow, that was a long discussion, Moto. Lots of points discussed, and still 2 laps to go. I can't believe we made it all the way through this video without running out of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
Any predictions?
Here you go. Yeah, I was just say, if you don't have a question, I got one for you. Predictions for the next round, or?
Yeah, just drop us who's gonna win 450 this weekend.
I don't know. I'm always looking for somebody new. I'm always looking for an underdog. I'm always looking for somebody hopeful that's different. So, I don't know. 450s, I already see Anderson probably, unless Tomac does something amazing as he does when he does. But I see Anderson probably taking the win, unless, like I said, Tomac gets a good drive. But, I mean, at the same time, Anderson doesn't have to win. So it's one of those that how much does he still want to get the W's compared to how safe do you stay, keep your body intact for outdoors, So it's just either way. But I see Anderson probably getting the win. And then 250s, we're still East Coast. Okay, just double checking. I was especially with AMs these days, I keep forgetting what race I'm doing what night. That with the East Coast, I mean, as you said, just Osborne, it's his season to lose. I see him swinging for the fences once again, and probably getting the win just to make sure that he separates himself a little bit more. And if he doesn't, then that's a big deal that he's gonna have to make up for at Vegas.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree with you. The only change I would make is I have a tough time betting against Tomac in this 450 class right now.
Oh, for sure. No, I totally agree. Yeah, he's been solid for sure, and very solid.
But Anderson's a good pick, no doubt. I could definitely see him winning this weekend too. Either way it goes, it's gonna be a fun one to watch, and I had a fun time discussing it with you, Motoagogo. I hope you had fun too.
Oh no, this was great. Thank you again.
Yeah, it's always fun having you drop by, and we did a video finally together. You've done so many live streams for us. I feel like I've never returned the favor by actually getting you on the channel for realsies.
No, not a problem. I mean, even video aside, I'm just glad to enjoy gaming with you, and I thank you for having me.
Yeah, totally, man. Well, guys, check Motoagogo out. Like I said, head up the description if you want to see more of his content. Follow him on Twitch, and get on the notification squad for realsies, and check out all of his cool content that he has going up pretty much daily, right, Motoagogo?
We're streaming again tonight here in just a little bit, and then almost every day, especially when St. Jude starts. Like I said, 27th, we'll be streaming every single day throughout May, so it'll be a really good charity month. So it should be a good time.
Well, sweet. Thank you guys again for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe as usual, and we'll see you guys on the next one. So long for now.